Hello fellow brawlers, I'm KairosTime and it is time to talk about the competitive Brawl Stars tier list version 15. Now balance changes were recently dropped, but don't worry, the tier list placements for this video are almost all completely going to be the same and very accurate. Most of the changes were just to rebalance a few star powers, and also some of them were like 2% buffs or nerfs that aren't going to do very much for the competitive meta. But there are two brawlers that are likely going to be better and one brawler that is likely going to be worse. Terra and Crow may do better than the tier list placements might suggest, and Tick is likely going to be doing worse than suggested. With that said, let's jump into the tier list that I had prepared for you before I knew balance changes were going to happen. Now in this video, we're going to be jumping into the 3v3 modes. I recently released a video for the solo modes, including Takedown, Lone Star, and both the Showdown, so make sure you guys watch that if you haven't already. But before we jump into this video would not be possible without the help of BrawlStats.com, who sent me the win rates and use rates for all of the brawlers in each mode over 700 trophies, which I think is pretty competitive. They also sent me this nice jacket, which is nice. And this camo is made from shadows of the brawlers. There's Shelly, right? That's epic. Additionally, I want to thank the pro tier list collaborators who helped with making this the most accurate tier list to date. Seriously, guys, this is insane. Their social media links are in the description. Let's go ahead and start off with Gem Grab. First off, we have Sandy replacing Poco as the golden S tier brawler for Gem Grab. Sandy's just a beast, guys. One of the best brawlers in almost all of the 3v3 modes. He has amazing burst potential. He can target more than one brawler at a time, and is super just crazy control. He's insane. If you don't have him yet, I feel sorry for you. He has the highest win rate in Gem Grab, above 700 trophies, at 62.6% of a win rate, and both of his star powers are just crazy good for the mode. Up next, we have Rosa going from the A tier to the S tier. Rosa has the second highest win rate in Gem Grab at 62%, which justifies her S tier position. And with her recent health buffs, she's gained a lot of survivability, and she actually synergizes with Sandy incredibly well. It's kind of like having a giant bush on the field that Sandy can just place down, which is a cool idea for a future brawler. I like it. Now up next, guys, are the brawlers moving into the A tier. 8-Bit is starting out in the A tier with a below average use rate and a win rate of 55.7%. Now his slow speed can make him kind of vulnerable, but he has such good DPS and range, not to mention the fact that his turret helps boost the damage from his entire team. Definitely an A tier brawler for right now. Nita is moving from the S tier down to the A tier, and a lot of this is due to the fact that we have tankier and stronger lane brawlers than, like, you know, BB, Rosa, and Nita just kind of lacks the DPS to maintain her S tier position any longer. Poco is also moving from the S tier into the A tier. He's played almost more than any other brawler in Gem Grab, but only has a win rate of 51.6%. Now this is because of the nerfs to his screeching solo star power and the fact that he just lacks the DPS to deal with the tankier options that are now being played a lot in Gem Grab. Bo's also moving from the S tier into the A tier. Like the other A tier brawlers, he's still solid. He just struggles more than he used to with the introduction of Sandy, and with BB and Rosa being more prevalent above 700 trophies. Now Piper's moving from the B tier up into the A tier. Her new star power, Snappy Sniping, guys, it's just so amazing, and even despite 2 nerfs, she still has the ability to shred through insane amounts of HP, especially on more open maps where she can stay back at a safe distance. Tick is moving from the B tier to the A tier as well. On the right map, guys, Tick is so good since his attack radius was increased. It just allows him to control really important parts of the map, and he's just so good for the mode. Next, we have the B tier brawlers. For starters, Pam is moving from the A tier down into the B tier. Now, Pam has a really high win rate of 60%, but she actually has the second lowest pick rate above 700 trophies, or use rate, pick rate, use rate, the same thing, because she struggles against long-range combat brawlers like the other gem carriers, and she just does so little damage at a distance. Barley's also moving from the A tier into the B tier. This is really because he's just so outshined by Tick. Tick is not only a better thrower right now, he also counters Barley, which just means that Barley's not as good as he used to be. He still can be played on the right map if you're confident with him, though. Shelly's moving from the A tier down to the B tier. Since her Band-Aid nerf, she's just not as good as she used to be. She has the 3rd lowest win rate in gem grab above 700 trophies, but we still wanted to include her because she does such a good job at countering some of the S tier brawlers like Rosa and BB. Bull is moving from the non-ranked category into the B tier due to his tough guy star power, allowing him to keep brawlers pushed back longer than before. Once again, he's a good counter to BB and Rosa as well. Brock is moving from the B tier into the non-ranked category. He doesn't have sufficient DPS against really aggressive brawlers, and he's particularly weak against Jean and Piper. Frank is also being removed because he's easy to counter, especially by some of the S tier brawlers. And now that we have covered the changes to the gem grab tier list, here it is so you can get a good look at what is working right now in gem grab. And next, we've got the Brawl Ball tier list changes. Sandy is starting out in the golden S tier position, replacing Shelly. Honestly, Sandy's just broken, guys. Especially in modes that require a lot of teamwork like Brawl Ball or like Control. I mean, he's so good. The area that he can control is game-breaking in this mode. Now, El Primo is also moving from the A tier into the S tier because of his Meteor Rush star power. He was already amazing in the mode, but he's even better now that he can run ridiculously fast after a super. 8-Bit is starting out in the A tier for Brawl Ball. He has a pretty low use rate, but he actually has the 3rd highest win rate for Brawl Ball. If he moved as fast as other brawlers, he'd probably be S tier, but his slow movement speed does require him to rely a bit more on his teammates to make those goals. Tick is moving from the B tier into the A tier with a win rate of 55.7%. Now on the maps with lots of walls, Tick offers insane control from a safe distance, but he struggles a lot on defense, so it's definitely recommended to save his super for those moments when you're worried about the enemy scoring a goal. Next we have Piper, who's moving from the non-ranked position into the B tier. She's only competitive on really open maps with snappy sniping. In fact, in non-competitive meta, she has the lowest win rate at 38.8%, so like most players should not be playing her in Brawl Ball, but if you're skilled with her and you do have snappy sniping, she can be played well on the right map. Shelly's moving from the S tier down to the B tier because of the nerf to her Band-Aid star power. She actually has the 2nd highest use rate for the mode, but has very little to show for it with only a 50% win rate. Now Nita's moving from the S tier down into the B tier because of the better options like, you know, Sandy, El Primo, BB, and 8-Bit, who all actually make it pretty hard for Nita. Daryl is also moving from the A tier down to the B tier. He used to work very well at ambushing squishier brawlers, but those brawlers are being played less often, making Daryl a less viable option. Frank is moving from the A tier down to the B tier as well because he's countered by so many of the popular brawlers right now, you know, like El Primo, Spike, kind of Sandy as well, BB, you get it. Bo is also moving from A tier down to B tier because it takes time for his super to be effective, and in Brawl Ball, quick plays are often the reason why a team will win or lose. Jesse's moving from A tier down to the B tier because she doesn't have the DPS to deal with the tankier brawlers that are currently being played. She's definitely a little bit more meta dependent and requires specific maps for her to work pretty well. Now Leon is actually being removed from the competitive tier list since he has the 2nd lowest win rate above 700 trophies. Previously, he was in the B tier, but he just lacks the DPS to really be able to deal with the best brawlers right now. And he has a really slow reload speed, not to mention the fact that he is basically replaced by Sandy in like so many different ways. He's so good. Penny's also being removed from the B tier because she doesn't have the DPS to prevent goals. And then, of course, we need to talk about Mortis in the competitive tier list for Brawl Ball, guys. Now, I had no say in this. This was decided by the pro player collaborators of the tier list, but Mortis is being removed from the A tier, completely out of the competitive tier list. He did have a little bit of viability when his coiled snake was as long as it was, but since it's nerfed, guys, you just stop. You need to stop. Now, since I released a video releasing actual proof that Mortis is not good in Brawl Ball right now, I think I've received more hate from the Brawl Stars community than I ever have, which I don't know what to say about that. I literally was just like trying to make the world a better place for people, but you know, whatever. You do need to understand a few things right here. I do understand that some insanely good Mortis players out there can absolutely crush it with Mortis and Brawl Ball. But then again, those same players likely can push literally any brawler in any mode on any map because they're so skilled. This does not mean that every brawler is good everywhere though. This is because actual pros play against average players, pros versus average players, most of the time when they play in the ladder. So of course they feel like Mortis is amazing because a pro Mortis will beat an average player most of the time, especially if they're playing with teammates that they know they can trust. Also, of course, Mortis is fun to play in Brawl Ball when you actually do win with him, so that's why people play him. But If you take a competitive team of 3 pro players and you put them against another competitive team of 3 pro players, I can almost guarantee you that the team with Mortis will lose most of the time. Unless that Mortis player is like YDE or somebody that's insanely good like that. Now when you control for skill, meaning that skill is going to be the same, meaning like in a match all players are equally good, Mortis loses more than he wins. And because these win rates and use rates come from tens of thousands of matches over 700 trophies, we're doing exactly that. We are controlling for skill. Mortis is the 3rd most played brawler in Brawl Ball above 700 trophies, and he has the 3rd lowest win rate. The stats don't lie. They help prove that for most people, Mortis is not good in Brawl Ball. There are exceptions to this, but almost every player in the world will win more if they push Mortis in Gem Grab or Bounty instead of Brawl Ball. Okay, rant over. I just feel like a big weight was just lifted off my chest. Some people are mean if you say Brawler's not good in a mode and they disagree with you. Holy cow. This is the Brawl Ball tier list. I feel very confident in this list right now. Make sure you guys grab that screenshot. And up next, we have the Heist tier list. First up, we've got 8-Bit starting his debut in Heist by replacing Bull as the golden S tier brawler. Honestly, both Bull and 8-Bit are insanely good in Heist. Okay, now Bull has the highest pick rate, but 8-Bit has the highest win rate for the mode. 8-Bit really thrives in this mode because he has such high DPS from such a long distance away. Additionally, his turret can help like a Bull teammate on your team deal even more damage onto the safe if you ever get that opportunity. If you do, the enemy team might as well just give up. Next, we have BB moving from the A tier into the S tier with the 2nd highest win rate for Heist. Her batting stance star power actually helps a ton in Heist, as it can help reduce all damage while she closes the gap between her and other enemies or her in the safe. Rico's also moving into the S tier from the A tier. The maps currently in the game almost all have great places that allow Rico to easily defend or push enemy brawlers back. Next, we have Sandy starting out in the A tier. Sandy actually has a very low use rate in Heist since he doesn't really deal a ton of damage to the safe, but he does a great job at helping his teammates get to the safe. Next are brawlers that are moving into the B tier. Brock is actually making his way all the way up from the S tier down into the B tier. He's being played a lot less now since 8-Bit is a much better long-range option in the mode, and the fact that he's countered pretty hard by BB. Rose is also moving from the A tier into the B tier since a lot of her good Heist maps were actually removed from the game. Colt is moving from the A tier down to the B tier because 8-Bit just outshines Colt in most of the Heist maps right now. Shelly's also moving from the A tier down into the B tier. She has a very low win rate because of her recent nerfs. She's only played as a good counter against like some of the tankier brawlers, and Frank is actually moving from the non-ranked category up into the B tier. Once again, as kind of a decent option against some of these tankier brawlers. Not like the tankiest brawlers, but you get the idea. Nita is also going from non-ranked up into the B tier because of her buff to her Hyper Bear star power. She has to be played pretty carefully in the competitive meta, but if she can get a bear on that enemy safe, man, Mr. Bruce, he can just shred through its health. Piper's also moving from the non-ranked up into the B tier as a niche counter to squishy brawlers like Rico, as well as long-range options like 8-Bit. Without her snappy sniping star power, she has one of the lowest win rates, so if you don't have it, I'd recommend not playing her in Heist. Crow's being removed from the competitive tier list for Heist because he lacks the DPS required to punish those high health brawlers, and also, he has a really low win rate of only 43.8%, which just is not good. And now that we've covered all of the Heist changes, here is the tier list showing the best brawlers for this mode. And next, we've got Bounty. Starting off is Sandy replacing Brock as the golden S tier brawler for Bounty. Sandy's just insane and has the highest win rate in the mode at 60.9%. He is so easy to push right now, guys. It only takes him 5 hits to charge his super, and he can burst down all of the other the S tier bounty brawlers in only 4 hits. A lot of times he can only do it in 3 hits, which is good. He's just so good right now. Tick is moving from the A tier into the S tier. He's one of the most played brawlers for the mode and has an impressive win rate of 55.3%. Not only can he outrange most brawlers, he can do that while hiding behind walls while controlling a large part of the field. Now Penny's moving from the S tier down to the A tier. She's still really solid, but she gets countered pretty hard by, like, you know, Tick and Sandy, which are 2 very popular brawlers in the mode. Also, a lot of her really good maps were actually removed from the game. Mortis is moving from the S tier down into the A tier. He's still also really solid, but there are just better options in the meta right now. 8-Bit is starting out in the B tier. He's got good DPS from a long range, and he has more health than most bounty brawlers. The fact that he's slow means that he does struggle to both, like, you know, chase brawlers down and to run away from them, so you do kind of have to play him carefully, but he can be really solid. Leon is moving from the A tier down into the B tier because so many of the popular brawlers outrange him so well, which makes it really hard for him to charge his super in the first place. Barley is being removed from the B tier because Tick is just so good. He's just a better option. He counters Barley, and yeah, you get the idea. And this is the bounty tier list. And next we've got the Siege tier list. Sandy is starting out in the S tier, which should not be a surprise. Not golden S tier. That's still reserved for BB. But Sandy does have a very high win rate of 61.7% because of his ability to control that center of that map where the bolts are all appearing for such a long time. 12 seconds is insane. Tick is moving from the B tier to the S tier. Huge jump right there, guys. This is because of his long-range control and the fact that he deals so much damage to the Ike turret from such a long distance. That buff to his attack radius was just insanely good for him. 8-Bit is starting in the A tier. His viability does rely on the right map, but in long-range open maps, 8-Bit is insanely good, even though he has such a slow movement speed. This is because of the damage he can unload on the bot on defense and the Ike on offense, and also on enemy players from a long range. Not to mention his turret, which is going to help boost the DPS from all of your brawlers on your team. Barley is moving from the S tier down to the A tier. Still good, but Tick is just better and counters Barley. Penny is moving from the S tier down to the A tier. She relies a lot on her turret to do well, and without it, she just doesn't have the DPS needed to stay in the S tier right now. Plus, she gets countered by Tick so much. Piper's moving from the non-ranked position up into the A tier because of her snappy sniping star power. She is very vulnerable on defense, but she is amazing on offense, especially on those open maps. Carl is moving from the A tier down to the B tier. He has a very high win rate, but the third lowest use rate, suggesting he's only good on a few maps. Big reason for this is the fact that his ability to spam shots next to a wall has been greatly decreased. Now, Frank is moving from the A tier down to the B tier. He has a very low use rate despite his win rate because he's countered so hard by a lot of the best brawlers in the mode. Also, a lot of the maps that were good for him in Siege were removed from the game as well. Now, Brock is moving from the A tier into the B tier because there are so many very tanky brawlers that are played so frequently in the mode. Bo is going from the A tier down to the B tier because there are just better options like Jean, Piper, or 8-Bit who all fulfill Bo's roles much better in this meta. Man, Bo and Bull, I don't know why that's so hard. Colt is also moving from the A tier into the B tier because 8-Bit is just better on those open maps, and Colt struggles to charge his super on a lot of the current maps, you know, because there's so much cover for other brawlers to hide from. Leon is moving from the A tier down to the B tier because of his low reload speed and the fact that the Ike turret can now see him when he is invisible. Nita is moving from the A tier all the way down into the non-range category because when those tanky brawlers are like trying to pick up those bolts, she just does not have the damage to like be able to like punish them and do that. Like Bull's like, huh, that kind of tickled, you know, whatever. Nita, get away from me. I'm bigger than you. Also, her bear can be led into the Ike zone, which allows you to get rid of it really easily without wasting any ammo. Now, Rico's moving from the A tier into the non-ranged category because he's such an easy target against BB and Jean. Even on maps where he does well, throwers like Barley and Tick do a really good job at countering him. Now, Pam is moving from the A tier into the non-ranged category because it's pretty easy to avoid a lot of her damage from a distance. Whew, that was a lot. Now, this is the Siege tier list. Normally, I would now go on to the overall tier list where I would show where every brawler placed based on their tier placements for every single tier for every mode. But this video is already like super long, and I actually think that I would really like to dive into that a little bit more, like look into all the details, and then come up with how I would personally rebalance the meta and do a video on that. There are a lot of brawlers that I feel like have been ignored for a long time, and I'd really like to do a video covering on how I feel like they should all be rebalanced. I mean, just posting some of my thoughts there, kind of start a discussion with you guys. Once again, I want to give a huge thank you to brawlstats.com as well as the tier list collaborators who helped with putting this video together. All of their links are in the description below. And also, guys, I would love to know what you thought about this tier list, so please drop your comments in the section below. Specifically, I want to know how you felt about like the solo modes and the team modes being split into two separate videos, so I could actually go more in detail on both of them. So let me know that. And yeah, anyway, for now, This is KairosTime ticking by, and we will see you in Brawl Stars.